Hey guys, Ben Grice here. I'm the owner of Backcountry CAD and the designer of all the mods you'll see coming from my channel. And today I just wanted to go over one of my most popular products, and that is the hammer mod for a lot of the Leatherman products. Most of what you've seen before has probably been for the Surge and Wave Plus, but recently I've been working on some for the Wave Alpha, the Skeletal, and the Charge series, shown on the Charge TTI here right now. And I just wanted to go over kind of what the use cases are and what they're for, as well as just give you some close-up views as to how they interact and mount to the tool. And a lot of that will be done close up in just a little bit, but I just wanted to get in front of the camera and introduce myself as well as go over some of these uses. So just like any tool on a Leatherman, it's better to go get the right tool for the job if you really need to get something done. For instance, if you're going to do bushcraft, you're going to want a full-size knife over the knife you have on here. If you're cutting wood, you're going to want a full-size saw instead of the saw that's on the Leatherman. And some of the feedback I've gotten is when you're using the hammer for the Leatherman, just go get a real hammer if you need to hit something. The premise of the tool to me is to just make do with what you have in this one package, and I found myself a lot needing to hit certain things, hitting bolts, plates apart. I work with 3D printed parts a lot, so kind of things that press fit together. It's useful to tap them into place, and so that's why I developed this mod. So for the Leatherman, I originally started with a mod that replaced some internal tools, and over time I got feedback from customers, and one big drawback is that you had to give up some internal tools, maybe like the can opener or the awl. But over a couple different iterations, I've prototyped into one that is able to attach on the tool as you see before you, and it doesn't require a sacrifice of any tools. It is simply a bolt-on mod that gives you extra functionality without taking away any of the functionality of the tools. And so, as you can see on my Leatherman Surge, I'm able to open the hammer mod when it's not in use, and then you can deploy the inner tools just like normal. We have a screwdriver here, so you can still use the screwdriver like normal. Same applies to the can opener, and that'll apply for all of these tools. You're able to just pivot the hammer out of place when you're not using it, and then back into place when you're ready to actually hit on something. Now, one of the first things people think about when they look at this tool is, oh, am I going to damage my Leatherman while I'm using it? Because the pro of using a Leatherman over a cheap multi-tool from Harbor Freight or something is that you want these things to be built well, built high quality, your warranty, all of these things, and you don't want to just hit it against rocks. So with a lot of prototyping, I've actually developed it to where it contours the bottom of the frame so that most of the force goes directly into the frame of the tool, not into your pivot and bolts, so that you're not having damage over time. Now, for the Leatherman Surge, which is the one I keep picking up because this is the one I use most heavily, I have very heavily used this tool. I have hit it on rocks, I have run over it, I have hit it on straight steel, all sorts of things. And there's very little signs of wear. It's made from solid 316 stainless steel, and the frames of Leathermans are made from 440 steel, which is significantly harder than 316. So if any deformation was to occur, it's going to be through slight deformation in the hammer as it contours the frame perfectly. And then now we'll cut to some close-up views so you can actually see how it interacts with the tool. Guys, so here's some close-ups of the way that the hammers mount to the Leathermans. For the Charge series and the Wave Alpha, they attach in the exact same way, and so I'll show you that here. They mount between the frame and the scales on the tool. So there are stainless steel washers on either side to give yourself a smooth deploy in the both open and closed position. Now I will mention that all of mine lock in the open and closed position. Some people don't want that. They want it to free spin out of the way so you can still use it one-handed. Now obviously I'm using it one-handed here, so it's not that big of a hindrance. But you can just slightly file down the pivot on the backside so that it is able to deploy smoothly. Next up we have the Skeletal. Now the Skeletal mounts is very simple. The frame comes with a 2mm hole in it, and with my mod I send a 2.5mm drill bit so that you can slightly enlarge that. I just like the extra strength that is given by a larger bolt. The strength goes up exponentially, so I just wanted to bump it up one size. And as you see here, this is what I call the wide mod. It's not any wider than the tool itself, but for the slim version, I don't have it extend past the frame on this left side, so you can still keep it as lightweight as possible. Now for the Surge and the Wave Plus, they mount the exact same way, just with one very small difference. On both of them, they replace the crowns of the tool. So this is what I'm referring to as the crown here. Now, on the left side, and under the hammer, you'll have bronze washers, so that you can still have a smooth deploy on this one. As you can see, it's obviously still one-handed and locks in the both open and closed position. And on the Wave Plus, instead of bronze washers, there are stainless steel washers, just because there was not enough room to fit them, but it is still a very smooth deploy. So, as you can see, the body is 3D metal printed out of 316 stainless steel. And just for the people who think I go easy on my tools or don't actually show them being able to take a lot of force, here is a rock. And I'll open it up and show that the Leatherman is completely fine. And I'll get up real close here so you can see that these are not wear marks, but actually just part of the stamping process that's used on a Leatherman. And that is my Leatherman series.